To summarize my reaction to Three Sisters in 3 words, I would use the word surprised, amused, and thoughtful. I was surprised as I didn't expect the play to go in the direction that it ultimately took. And despite the more lighthearted while still serious first half, the second half of the play was quite dark in contrast. I use the word amused as I found the play to be very funny overall, and the interactions between the characters were very comedic. I use the word thoughtful as after watching the play myself, I started to reflect on my own life a bit, and it inspired me to think about what I may really want in my own life. I saw the play myself at the 2 p.m. show on Saturday, February 24th. I stayed throughout the whole play, and I completed this assignment on my own without copying text or ideas from another student. The playwright of Three Sisters was Anton Chekhov, and to describe the genre, I'd use the word tragedy, as even though it featured lighthearted moments, the ending was very dark and sad. The main protagonist of the Three Sisters was Irina. Irina's goal throughout the play was to find happiness and purpose in life away from her current situation, with her idealized dream of one day moving back to Moscow. She's able to finally reach meaningful steps towards her goal of reaching a better life when she marries the Baron and becomes a teacher, even if it isn't the idealized life she once imagined. The climax occurs as Vershinin's regiment is moved to a different town, and the Baron and Solyoni decide to have a duel to settle their love for Irina. The play ends with the soldiers leaving and the Baron dying in the duel. Though Irina has made great steps to a better life, she ultimately has yet to attain it and continues to experience loss. The language used throughout the play was mostly conversational between two characters or a group of characters. I think this choice worked very well for the play, allowing the characters to reveal their personalities and desires by interacting with each other, and also allowing the comedic moments to flow well and come about naturally as a result of their dialogue. Throughout the play, Masha repeats the line, "A green oak by a curved seashore, upon that oak a golden chain," from a book that she was reading in the beginning of the play. This line was there to illustrate the way Masha was dissatisfied with her situation, and longed for a better life that was stuck in her imagination and seemed so far out of her reach. The director of the show was Will Pomerantz, and the show utilized a proscenium stage. I believe that all of the cast was very great and that they worked very well together. Every actor seemed well suited and prepared for their roles. They had great chemistry on stage and were able to come together as an ensemble very well. I also felt that there was plenty of diversity with BIPOC actors in the cast. I also think that the choice for the character of Andre to be played by an actress was a good one, and I think it helped Andre and the sisters feel closer together and more related as a result. None of the actors felt miscast, and they all played their roles well while upholding diversity. The stage picture that stood out the most to me was towards the very end of the play, after Irina learned that the Baron died. After learning this, the three sisters were all sitting on the ground, holding each other in all their pain, but also being there to comfort each other. Putting them down close to the ground shows that they were weaker and vulnerable in this moment. And I think the decision to stage this moment in this way was to express that no matter what may happen and all the pain they go through, all the sisters would be there to comfort each other and be a family for each other. One character in performance that stood out the most to me during the show was Natasha, played by Sofia Romano. She's able to portray Natasha's assertive nature, arrogance, and her overbearing presence in the household. She was able to project her voice in order to get across how argumentative and dominating she could be, such as when she yells at Nana. Her ability to project her voice in such a way also lended itself to comedic bits in the play, like the times when she was startled by Solyoni and yelled. Her chemistry with the other actors was great, as she bounced off well with them, and you could tell just how much the other characters couldn't stand Natasha. She's able to portray Natasha's personality shift from being nervous and shy around the sisters to becoming corrupt with power and arrogant. Natasha's journey felt very natural and entertaining to watch. One moment that stood out to me of her performance was the first time the play shows Andre and Natasha after they married, when she was trying to get Andre's attention away from work. The way she was bothering Andre really captured how overbearing and dominating she could be. The way she strolled around him as he was working, the way she was leering over Andre, was able to capture her dissatisfaction in that moment. In that moment of watching the performance, it really shocked me with just how different she was in that scene compared to the previous scene when she was so nervous and unsure of herself. It was a big hint as to how she was going to act and behave for the rest of the play. Another scene that stood out to me was the scene where she yells at Nana and then gets into the argument with Olga. She was able to capture how hateful and pompous Natasha had grown at that point, and just how terribly she could treat others. The way she yelled at Nana captured a boss who was greatly unkind and aggressive. And the emotions displayed between Natasha and Olga bounce off each other in that very well to show how different they were and how different they thought of the character of Nana. That moment in the show really made me fully dislike Natasha as a character, despite how funny she was before and how funny she was even after that moment. The costume design was done by Devin Painter. All the costumes felt very in line with the late 19th century, early 20th century time period. They all looked very well made and looked very sophisticated, which made sense as many of the characters came from a wealthy background. While there were costumes worn throughout the play, such as the military uniforms, other costumes changed frequently, such as the dresses worn by the characters. Throughout the play, certain characters would wear different colored clothing to reflect their characters. This could best be seen in Masha, who wore darker colored dresses that reflected her dissatisfaction with life, while Irina wore more brightly colored dresses, as she was still very hopeful and that she could lead a happy life. One costume choice that stood out to me was Natasha's white dress that she wore when she was going to meet the chairman for the first time and start their hair. The white dress was paired with the black hat, and overall the outfit looked very elegant, stylish, and fancy looking, and it was a single costume used for one little scene, which made it very interesting. Natasha never wore anything like that before, and it looked very fashionable, while Natasha was previously described as unfashionable. This costume design choice captured how different she was in that moment from the beginning of the play, and how she planned to do something that seemed very out of character up to that point, which was cheating on Andre. Another costume choice that stood out was Vershinin's military uniform that was worn throughout the play. Vershinin's uniform notably looked a lot more professional and looked a lot more prestigious. It featured a lot of medals, it looked a lot better put together, and had more accents of red across the uniform. This helped show his prestige and status being very high in the military and being of a much higher standard than the Baron and Solioni. It also emphasized how striking and powerful he seemed, which helped spark the attraction between him and Masha. In my opinion, all the work of the artists really hung together and all came together to create a great show. All the actors and their performances were great and bounced off each other very well. All the design choices and the staging choices felt like they were all made with the other aspects of the show in mind, and they all flowed together very well. Nothing felt out of place or disjointed on stage, and it all really felt like it took place in the same world. In terms of the overall purpose, the artist wanted the audience to understand that there's nothing to be gained from simply wishing that life can be better, and that people must act in order to create a better life for themselves. While all the characters long for something more, the only way to find some sense of happiness and satisfaction is to actively achieve it. To conclude my video, I'd like to say that this play and the performance given during the play will stick with me for a long time. It's been a while since I've seen a live theater performance, and getting to experience the intimacy of the performances with the audience was a welcoming experience. Witnessing the performances live was also very thrilling. At one point during the show I watched, the actress who played Andre messed up a line a little bit, but was able to get back on track and play it off like it was nothing. This reminded me a bit of the rocket fuel feeling that Prof. E was describing in lectures. It made the whole experience of the play a lot more exciting, and it felt very satisfying to watch someone regain their balance after messing up a little bit and continue to deliver a great performance. Overall, the show was one of the best live theater experience I've had, and one that I will remember for years to come.